Hi there, welcome back to the channel. Just before I get into the topic, I wanted to let you know about a brand new Discord server that I've just started.
I'll put a link down in the description.
Also, there's a newsletter or mailing list sign up that you can use as a way of keeping in touch with me if you like the kind of content that you've seen on this channel so far. Anyway, so the thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is social media and my particular relationship with it as a professional composer. For the longest time, it was a bit of a block for me, or a bit of a burden, and basically I felt it as this huge kind of pressure to put myself out there, to self-promote, to reach new clients, and I was kind of really aware of how much power social media has as a connecting tool, as a way of putting your portfolio out there, as a way of getting eyeballs and attention. But I really felt conflicted because I didn't see myself as the sort of person who was like that, who was kind of a show-off, or who was kind of going to, co-opt people's attention. I felt like I was, as a viewer, already the recipient of a lot of quite annoying content creators who, or not even content creators, but like artists and people who just used their social media feeds to self-promote, and did so in a way that maybe was just felt a little bit like spam. And so I definitely didn't want to kind of be part of that. But nevertheless, it felt like this kind of big opportunity that I was missing. And so I would sort of have a go at social media, but basically do quite a bad job. I wouldn't post regularly, and I would only really post news to do with recent projects that I've had, like announcements of games that I'd worked on, or maybe a recording session I'd been to. And each post would kind of just be like this little dot, or this little sort of drop in the ocean. And it generally wouldn't attract much follows or views or anything. It might get one or two comments, but then it would just feel like it wasn't really connected with anything. So it would just kind of disappear after a while. And it felt like the whole thing just felt like this kind of quite phony, kind of just a waste of time. That's how it's been for me personally over the majority of my composing career. Fast forward to 2022, and we were in another lockdown. I was actually renting a really nice house actually in Oxford. Bit pricey, but because I'd moved out of London, I had my studio rent kind of budget and my living rent budget that I could combine. And I got this lovely detached house in a park in Oxford, and it was really amazing. I had my drum kit set up in the living room. It was just me in there. I just sort of took over the space with instruments and stuff. I think it was a very fruitful period in terms of just hearing my own thoughts a bit more. It was just generally a lot quieter. I was a bit more surrounded by nature, and obviously things had slowed down a little bit. Also, just the act of renting a new house and kind of filling it with my stuff and putting art on the walls was quite therapeutic. And one of the things that came out of that quite creative period for me, even though it was a tragic period, was thinking around social media again, but also more generally modes of being a composer that weren't to do with just making work, weren't just to do with the business side, weren't to do with me as a performer even, but actually thinking about, is there something that I could do as part of my sort of composing lifestyle that was a bit more outward facing, felt like, I was either mentoring somebody or teaching or putting information out there in some way, because I sort of instinctively felt and knew that I had had so much support in my composer journey up until that stage. Specifically in the area of composing, I hadn't really found a way to share that. I'd never had a composing student. I'd only ever taught piano. An opportunity came up to go on a sort of online course. It was called PTYA, Part-Time YouTuber Academy, run by a guy called Ali Abdal, who's a very successful YouTube entrepreneur. The one thing that it really inspired me to do is just kind of push through the resistance barrier and make a couple of videos and publish them without putting any pressure on myself for them to be good, and just using whatever equipment I already had. Hi there, my name's Vince, I'm a composer, and welcome to my channel. Further down the line, the course did actually provide quite a lot of useful information about the basics of video production and editing and lighting and that kind of thing, and that's a big part of why these videos look relatively polished today. I quite enjoyed editing and creating a little sort of world in a video, doing the sound and all that kind of stuff, but I was quite directionless in terms of how I would structure it. But the kind of key advice that I got from that was, I guess, in the spirit of just start doing it and pay attention to what works, pay attention to what you enjoy, and see what happens. And I guess one of the things that happened is that I realized I preferred presenting to camera when I had a bit of a bullet point list. And so one of the skills that I developed was this kind of pre-planning a script, but not sort of word for word, and presenting an idea. But that required that I had really thought through the idea sort of beforehand, or it required that it was something that I already knew very, very well. As I sort of got further and further along, I realized that there were certain times when I was speaking to camera or doing something on camera, I could just kind of feel my body sort of light up a little bit. I could feel like just some little dopamine surge or something that felt like I was on the right track. And usually when that was happening, it was because I felt that what I was sharing was true. It felt like I had something of value, and I was excited about the fact that I was saying it to a camera, because it meant that that insight or that experience wasn't just being kept in my sort of bubble of my day-to-day life, but had an opportunity to kind of be released out into the world. And it really changed the way I started to think about social media. I started to realize that there was something inherently nice and fun about releasing information and things that I felt were true, just putting them out there. At the same sort of time, I was reading a book called Show Your Work, which I would really recommend. It's a very short read and it's very focused. The book was really good at painting a picture of what it might look like to use social media as a way of just opening up your world as a creative and sharing your process in a really transparent and honest way, kind of warts and all, and also, creating a space where you can put your work out there and give it some kind of context, and kind of celebrating the fact that when people do that, good things can happen, and it doesn't require that the work be perfect or even that the presentation be perfect. It can be quite messy, and sometimes when it's messy, that can be even more enriching for somebody. And I sort of felt like that really resonated with me, because I could tell that the author was very against the idea of just using social media as this kind of spammy self-promotion tool. So I sort of had that somewhere at the back of my mind, and I guess I just kept trying to tune into when were those times when I felt that kind of excited, buzzy feeling. Sometimes it was very obvious, because if I was writing a script or performing a script to camera that I didn't quite fully believe what I was saying, I generally wouldn't even be able to get through the takes or get through the recording process. The whole thing would just get super long. I'd get so exhausted and tired and self-critical, and it would almost just prevent me from publishing anything. Whereas the times that I felt that I had something true to say were the times that it was easiest to communicate clearly and get through the recording process, which, if you've never presented to camera before, it can be quite daunting at first. And especially in those first couple of months, it was like the only thing that was going to get me through the sort of embarrassment of that was to feel like I had something worth saying. What it made me realize is actually the antidote to this kind of bad feeling that I had before about social media, about this kind of burden to self-promote and market myself and sell myself, was to produce social media content or videos or something, to put my work out there in a way that was more about just celebrating the joy of doing work, or sharing some insight or some, teaching a point in a way that felt like it connected me back to what I was doing, and made me notice, I'm participating in a scene, in a tradition, in a particular craft, in a wider community. Like, I'm already tapping into stuff that is far, far bigger than me. And my exploration of that as an artist is just, it's not really about me. I'm kind of, I'm also sort of perpetually a student, and I don't always fully understand what I'm doing. And part of, teaching is sort of gaining insight and self-reflection on what you are doing. And all of these things, they kind of just take you out of your head, out of the sort of framework that's like, are you successful yet, and really connecting you to something much bigger, which is just like the joy of creativity, the joy of music, reconnecting me a little bit to why I got into it in the first place, which can really kind of be something that gets obscured when you're thinking a lot about how to be successful, how to get gigs, how to pay the rent. So I feel like it was the antidote. I think the thing that's going to keep me focused is to just try and make good videos that I myself believe in. It's challenging, because it's always tempting to pander things to the algorithm and to think about titles and thumbnails, trying to get as many views as possible and sacrifice maybe types of content or types of topics that aren't likely to do that. And that's, it's tricky because YouTube is so algorithmically focused now that it has a lot of power in that sense in terms of dictating what content creators need to produce if they're going to be visible. It's actually got to the point now where even if somebody subscribes to the channel, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to see new content when I upload it, unless it's something that the algorithm is pushing. One of the ways that I'm trying to address this is to have other ways of doing what I'm doing, but away from the YouTube platform. And this kind of brings me to the idea of having a Discord server or a mailing list. The idea is that if you actually connect with what you're seeing and hearing on this channel, then you have a way in which you can sign up for more updates and not have this content be buried in your feed. Also, it means that if I have some important news to share, then I can just reach out to you directly and let you know, rather than being a bit of a slave to the YouTube kind of mechanism. Because I don't have any way of contacting my subscribers directly. So I decided to make up this Discord server. It's called Happy Composing. And the idea is that it's a way of basically having a kind of hangout space online. It's just a chat room. There's also video chat and audio chat as well. But it's mostly a text-based chat room with different themed channels. So one of them's called Show and Tell, where you could post some of your work and maybe get feedback. Another one is called Little Wins, which is just maybe you could share something that's gone well for you in your composing career or just in your life generally. And then, of course, there's just a general chat as well. But I really like the idea of, maybe slowly getting to know some of you guys, some of the people watching these videos, and having a forum in which you can ask questions or we can just have a chat. Also, it's going to help me, I feel make better content because I'll be more in touch with the kinds of burning questions people have or the things that are blocking them. Composing can sometimes feel a little bit lonely, and I think it's nice to know that other people are around and doing similar things, and they're on similar journeys. They're trying to get their heads around similar topics or use, similar technology or whatever. In terms of this bigger storyline, I feel like this is partly about giving people who watch these videos already a pathway to go slightly deeper. I think also I'll probably start putting little bits of bonus content, stuff that's maybe a bit less polished, things which don't require the kind of planning and editing that a full YouTube video does, but that are easy enough to share to a community that I know might benefit from them. The caveat to all of this is, of course, that I'm trying to focus on my work as a composer as my primary goal. I can't promise that my upload schedule is going to be super regular, but I would in the future like to have a few more things like courses or downloadables, and some of those might be monetized in the future. So again, if you were to sign up to the mailing list, you'll be the first to know about stuff like that, and that would be a really great way to support the channel. Another way that you can already support these kinds of videos is by going to my Buy Me a Coffee page, which is basically a way to just give a one-off donation. You don't even need to create an account. There's also a recurring monthly sort of option as well, but I don't have any rewards on there for monthly subscribers yet. So it'll just be from the kindness of your own heart. But yeah, I guess that's sort of it. A slightly rambly video, just sharing some thoughts on social media as a composer, and I'm trying on here to do a little bit more of a unfiltered and more casual, off the top of the head kind of video. I do enjoy doing the very focused, content-driven stuff, but I'm aware that the YouTube creators that I like the most often share a bit more about their personal life as well, about their kind of emotional life, and I don't feel like I'm naturally that great at doing that. You know, I'm much more comfortable on these videos talking about something concrete and technical if I can, but again, maybe the Discord is a slightly different kind of setting and I might be able to do slightly more off-the-cuff kind of bits and bobs on there. So anyway, fingers crossed, but thank you for making it this far. Thank you if you've been subscribed for a while and you've been watching the growth of this channel. Thank you very much. And also if you've donated some money on Buy Me a Coffee, thank you very much. It's all been really encouraging, and I feel like I've already gained so much, both just personally, but also in terms of my business opportunities and my, some of the connections that I've made as a result of this channel. On the whole, I'm trying to do these things sort of just off my own back and on my own terms, I suppose. And with that said, I welcome any feedback, and I hope to chat to you online at some point. Happy composing, and see you on the next video. Take care.